In this lesson, we're going to continue to work with the structures in Grasshopper and Rhino. In the previous lesson, we created a series of objects, and then we extract kind of a reticular structure, like for example, the truss, like a beam or for a beam or for a pillar. And also we use surfaces. We use open surfaces and also like open curves and closed curves. And then from that we extruded or we used other tools here in the surface generation. We also check Launchbox, which is a excellent plugin that we can add. And so we're going to have additional functionalities for structures and building creation, paneling, framing, etc., etc. That can help us creating this type of grids and build a structure on top of that. And again, this is what it's called parametric design. So when we have these, sometimes they are randomic structures, sometimes they are like more precise and more linear, guided through some mathematical operations. Sometimes they're just perfectly randomic. And once we have the general shape, then we can divide it and we can multiply it and we can create elements, horizontal, vertical elements, crossing elements, hexagons, etc., etc. And the same technique, which we can also call procedural design or generative design or algorithm design, can be applied to jewelry product and other type of objects. So in this video, I'm gonna do a little bit of architecture. I'm gonna show you how you can use technique to create rigid geometry, so hard poly geometry, but also low poly geometry for something that is like more geometric, because you can see how many different ways we can create here structures. So I prepared a couple of things here. One is a library, and it's made with a square grid. And this is to show like hard poly object or a rigid, a linear corner, and also a Voronoi structure in there, which is more random and more organic. And you can use both to create, for example, furniture, facade for architecture, and also you can extrude a plan. So this is also what we're going to see. And you can see here that this is, again, parametric, meaning that I can change, for example, the size and how many modules I want to put in the library. And that's just with a grid. And so I want to show you a similar thing, but I'm going to use an hexagon grid instead of like a square grid. So it gets a little bit more interesting. But essentially, we are here in the vector section. We have types of grids, and we have like linear and more geometric, and then we have more randomic like populate, which are perfect to create Voronoi. And well, you need to keep in mind something. Every time you put something in there, it needs like an input. For example, the Voronoi needs a series of points, while the grid, like these others, they need a plane, and sometimes you need a surface, sometimes you need a curve. So you need to understand what you need to input in there and what you are extracting from that node in order to continue and create more stuff. So if I place an hexagon grid like this, as you can see, it's already there. So it's already generated. I don't need to put anything else. But what is like the outcome of this? What is the output? And I usually use the panels because panels give me the answer I want. So in this case, it's telling me that we have a tree structure. So we have multiple lists. So we have multiple branches. And inside each one, we have more polyline curves. So my guess is that for each hexagon that I see in there, we have like the number of elements inside that shape. So if I want, I can also put this in vertical. So I need to work with a work plane or construction plane. And that's going to be like X and Z. So it's going to be, you see, like vertically oriented because we want to do a bookshelf. So furniture or something like that that can be used as shelves. And then I'm going to type here a slider, which also is something I use frequently because this is, you know, dynamically visible, is interactive in a way. Instead of like going there and changing the numbers every time, the slider lets you slide quickly between parameters into the values. So I'm going to copy and paste sliders here. And right now we have, in the extent, we only have one module or one cell. So I'm going to increase the number here from 1 to 10. I'm going to increase the range by right-clicking and doing editing. And all this stuff we already mentioned it before, so I'm just going to be quick for this, basic stuff. Otherwise, if you don't understand, you can just go back in the previous lesson. So you can see how I can dynamically change the outputs of the various shapes I'm creating, which define the grid, the hexagonal grid. And that's it. Also, if you have problems in Rhino, the same thing, you can check the Rhino video course. Okay, so I want to put a range here, like from 1 to 5. 5 is the side of the hexagon. So 5 centimeters in my case, because I created a document in centimeters. And now what I want to do is extrude. I want to make this bookshelf. But, well, we've done this before. If I extrude it like this, well, first of all, it's telling me there is something wrong, because it doesn't want here, well, it needs a vector. It doesn't want, let me create a vector first. Okay. Okay, so it doesn't want like 0 in the direction or nothing. So now we have the basic structure. Now we can use the offset as we already done many times, but I'm gonna do something else here. So another way to create a thickness for an element like this, it's to use the scale. So if I use, double click the scale, and you can see I'm putting here the original geometry, and you can see here we have now a resized element. But the problem is that it's taking the origin, which is in the corner, as a reference, and that's not good for what we need to do, which is doing a thickness for each single of those cells. So what I'm going to do is use the points that are also outputting. So you can see we are outputting the cells, but also we are outputting points. And those points are referring to the center of each hexagon. So I can plug those into the center, and you can see now that all the other resized hexagons are positioning aligned to the original ones. So thanks to this, we can create a thickness. And also we can change the factor here. So if I put, again, a slider into the factor, I can slide this and I can make that frame thicker or thinner. So sometimes you also need to find the center. So this time the center was at our disposal, but in other cases you need to find the center. And I'm going to show you later what I mean. But right now I think this is fine. So we have the outside line, we have the inset or internal offset. All we need to do is create a surface in between those two lines. So I'm going to use the bigger cells there, and then I'm going to hold Shift key and click and drag and plug in the inner. So we have the outer and the inner cells, and now we have a thickness. Now all I need to do is just plug it in back into the extrude, and there I have my extrusion. So this is a way you can create libraries. Now what I've done here, I created a polyline, really simple shape, and I'm going to use it to create a small apartment, a small building. And you can use the polyline in Rhino, which I done right now. Otherwise, you can create a polyline directly with Grasshopper. Again, it's just a matter of how much you want this to be parametric and how much you want to do it like in Rhino, which is not actually so parametric, as we already explained in many other lessons. So I'm gonna define a curve by inputting a curve node and right-clicking and sets that to be a curve. And then I'm gonna do the offset curve directly in Grasshopper. And again, we need a slider. So if we're thinking that we are in centimeters, I think a good slider for a wall